Hey, all you crypto boomers, we are back. Bud and George and Paul. It's been a minute, and we were talking just before we started the podcast. We got a lot to talk about, guys. There's been a lot going on. I know that all three of us have been in contact, frequently over the past year, but we kind of been behind the scenes and just like pretty much everybody else that's listening or will listen to this, kind of listening to Jay, seeing what's happening. And now there's some exciting movement and some anticipation in the crypto market. But heck, that's not all that we want to talk about. There's all kinds of other stuff. So, Bud, how's it over there, man? How is it over across the pond, as people wear that saying out?
Oh, Paul, the hiatus we've had as crypto boomers has been, I think, almost coming on for 2 years. And I was wondering why we took the hiatus. But do you remember at the time we had the intelligence from Jay that crypto, you better not be in it for, they're going to destroy it. We had that really big crash in May. Do you remember that, guys? The
Oh, I do.
46% crash in about 3 weeks
I sure
of
do.
Bitcoin. That was a gutting move. So crypto does it's like going into a heavyweight boxing match. It does punch you up a bit, and so I guess we just took a hiatus because it just didn't seem like the right thing to talk about, something that may encourage people to get in. But now that we've gone through all that, there's loads that's happened. I'm so happy to be back and talking to you both. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we've had some fantastic talks over the past year and a half just on our own. And, we've all had some cool experiences that we've been able to do. And Bud, you've been traveling. I know you've sent us pictures, just incredible pictures of architecture. You're a world traveler, and I really enjoy seeing that. So, we've all stayed busy. George, I know you've grounded out and helped people with some technical things, and it definitely helped me. I got an email here, a month or two ago, that kind of scared me a little bit, and I sent it to George, and he's like, yeah, that's bullshit. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yep.
So that helped me.
Yep.
But anyway, how about you, George?
I have been staying busy. Well, by the way, the last podcast that we had, or live stream, was September 8th, 2021. So nothing in 2022. I thought we had done something sooner than that. But we hadn't. Yeah, I've been staying busy, working with Jay, doing the live streams, our regular Thursdays, and just helping people and helping myself. I have been spending more time on myself than I had, God, in the last 5 years. And that really feels good because I just let things kind of get out of hand. Paperwork never was done. And it wasn't my life was kind of unorganized, and I've spent the last bit of time organizing things and feeling a lot better about where things are going, because as Jay says, I've made my circle great, and it doesn't matter. The world could go into complete turmoil, which it may be. But when you keep your circle great, you get the support from the people that you surround yourself, the love, the um, everything that will just keep your spirits up. Whereas, I don't turn the news on anymore. Um, because every time I do, it seems to just be really negative. And, when you change what you put into your body, whether it be food or what, you hear in the world, changes everything about what you think, how you feel, and what your view of the world is. And that may be too much to start out with, but that's kind of what I've been focusing on the last 2 years.
No, I
Hey,
don't
hey,
think that's
George.
Yeah.
George, I was going to say, it goes without saying, I'm sure Paul feels this way as well, that, both you and Jay at the Bitcoin Academy.io have been remarkable, that you've gone through the bear market. Jay's kept us sane with the charts and looking at it from an unemotional perspective, and look also what we've gone through with, you know, all the debacle about FTX, all the people losing money, losing their, you know, their shirts, and you've kept us safe and secure. And I just, you know, again, I think from the group here and from all of us, thank you to you both for you know, really making this crazy space actually investable and safe.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
I agree with Bud. The you know, you guys have been a lighthouse in a storm, kind of, and you know, we're all good friends with Jay. Jay's a good friend of mine, and I get to talk to him frequently, thank goodness. But his presence is very comforting. He's a very upbeat, glass three-quarter full guy, sometimes glass overflowing guy, which I love about him. But he's also realistic, and he keeps us grounded. And you guys have really done a service to this group. And I know for a fact my sisters listen to you guys, and some friends, Dale and Sherry and Jim, and that are around here locally. It's been a ride, but it's definitely been something that has been more tolerable with you guys continuing to grind it out, and I do appreciate that too. Thanks, Bud, for saying that as well.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's funny because we were all talking before we started, and we kind of agreed that, you know, maybe this particular live stream is going to be titled "Strange Energies from Space," because Paul and I were talking, and we were, you know, one thing led to another, and you know, he's talking about cold water baths, are like, oh, I've wanted to try that. Like there's, and me personally in my life, there's just been so much, I don't want to say turmoil, but I'll use that word, but not in a bad way. Just the strange energies hitting me from space, turning everything upside down. No fear, no, you know, really feeling bad about it, but just recognizing that. And, you know, I've been doing some of those same things, like I need to change this, and, you know, going to the gym and doing the cold bath there that, you know, just reappeared. And that when Paul said that, and his dedication on some of his stuff, it was like, wow, maybe we're all kind of going through a little bit. And we started to talk about it, and Paul opened up and he's like, yeah, you know, everybody around me is kind of feeling this strange stuff, like something's, you know, really changed in the last 2 or 3 years. And the reason why I bring that up is that when Paul said that, it was like, oh gosh, you know, it's been really intense for me the last 2 days. And it's just nice to know that it's not just me. Maybe it's some global thing that that I'm just being a part of, and not, you know, having it just focused on me and like, we're going to have your life a little in turmoil type of thing. So I would love people to share if they're feeling the same thing, and some of the questions that, you know, you want to ask us, because this podcast just kind of came out of nowhere, and it all evolved from, you know, our last live stream with Jay. And he said, you know, would you guys take over for me one of the Thursdays? And you know, we all said yes, but we needed a little bit of primer because we haven't talked to each other like this in a while. And you know what? Have we ever done it live? Because I know the other ones, they were all recorded and then they were posted. Have we ever done a live one?
No, we have not. We have not. Now, we never edited them, so that, I mean, they could have been live, but the all the other ones were just recorded and posted and shared. So yeah, this is a first for us as a group doing a live podcast. So you know,
So
going back to
George,
go ahead,
well,
Bud.
I was just going to say, I mean, the first thing to throw out there, given that, well, first of all, Jay is irreplaceable, so you know, we're covering for him, but there's nothing like Jay.
Amen
Um,
to that.
but you know, that's kind of like, you know, we are free thinkers. What makes you think there's space? It's the first thing.
There we go. There we go. Now we're
Oh
talking.
boy. Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Okay. We're gonna just leave that right there. But I
Well,
will
wait.
say, I will
Are
say
we
this.
talking the third or fourth or fifth dimension, Paul? Could you answer that, and then I'll be able to get you an answer.
I am not qualified to answer that question. But I will say that over the past 2-3 years, and I'm pretty sure everybody on here and everybody that listens to this is going to agree with this to some degree anyway. But the things that we have learned, the awakening that has happened, I guess, maybe it's spiritual, maybe it's just the ways of the world that we had no clue of. There's just at some point, if you're alive on this realm, I guess I'll say, then you have felt or you have learned something that has turned what you believed upside down, whatever that may be. There is all kinds of information out there that has gone contrary to what we've been taught over the past or over our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And we won't go into those specifics. Maybe that's a podcast for another time. But the energies have shifted, and I think now it's more important than ever. And I think it's been very important, but it's very important now to keep your frequencies and your energies up. Things that lower your energy and your frequencies. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look it up. There's plenty out there, but negativity, I think we would all agree that when you walk in a room full of negativity, you can feel it. That's an energy. And negative energies cause disease, they cause depression, they cause anger, they cause fighting, and so you want to keep your energy elevated so that you can be that light to those around you as well, and it also keeps you healthy. So not to go off too far in the weeds, but there's something that has shifted over the past 2-3 years. Like I told George before we got on here, sitting around a fire here a couple of weeks ago with my two sisters, Jan and Tracy, and some friends, and it just popped up, and we all were feeling the same way. I mean, I talk to my sisters every day, multiple times a day. I'm blessed with that, and we're like-minded, but we also challenge each other. And there have been some hard to believe things that have come out that have shifted some of the way I've thought or I've been taught to think over my lifetime. Have you guys experienced anything like that?
I'd love to jump in, and then George, love to hear what you think as well. It's funny how the universe works in mysterious ways because, being on the binge team and having free time, I get to learn some fantastic, new things in life. And just literally, I think it was 2 days ago, what came to my attention is the ability to affect the clouds or the chemtrails above us through our positive energy force and some crystals you put into your garden. Now, I don't know if this is, I need to look into it more, but I love that idea that we can affect the physical space around us through our aura and our positive energy. I think I actually am more open to that now, and I think that's a great thing to believe because then that encourages you to, even if we're wrong, there's nothing wrong with being positive, and I've always been a very positive person anyway all my life. So it's just more of an understanding of how that affects. It certainly affects the people around you. It really
Yes.
does when you encounter people and you're in a very positive mindset. You do usually get what you want, from that encounter. So yeah, I'm more open to it, as I say, with the positive energy.
How about you,
Yeah,
George?
absolutely. And and I go way back. Kind of my parents were New Agers before New Age was the was a term, whatever, and whether that's good, bad, and different, whatever. But as a younger person, I was exposed to this, and one of the things that really hit me as evidence, because You know, so many people want to say, I need proof on whatever to believe it. And that's somewhat of what belief is in what you believe, whether or not it's true or correct for anybody else. It's true or correct for you. But one of the things that, you know, kind of threw me for a loop was knowing and seeing the water crystals that were created when different words were thrown out over the water, or there was a prayer or whatever. And it's the water that we don't think has the consciousness, that we don't think is alive, takes different forms because what we put out over that water would affect the water itself. And as we know, I don't know, what is it, like 90 some odd percent of our body is water. And if we're surrounding ourselves, like you said, Paul, like with negative energy, well, or negative thoughts or arguments, what do you think those water crystals are doing in our body?
Yeah.
And when you're surrounding yourself with love, peace, joy, whether or not you really are in, you know, your city is, you know, could be burning, but if you surround yourself with love, peace, and joy, then you're going to stay positive. You're going to be, like you said, that beacon of light where people are like, I need this because I don't have that much hope, or I need someone to lift me up. And so, you know, just that knowing way back then has always made me question things. And I think, Paul, you're right. And Bud, I am questioning everything now.
Yeah.
Things that I've been told, that I've been taught, and that I'm curious about things. It's not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, which I probably was in the past, but now I want to know, because look at all the, you know, not to get it too much into politics, but look at all the files that came out, the Twitter files, where, you know, supposedly this kid, you know, released it on the internet, and all the lies that were being told by our government. All the governments are doing the same thing. And yet it's so interesting that the news, which is, you know, probably government run, and that's not a conspiracy, that's kind of
No,
just
it's definitely
it's a fact,
propaganda.
that it's not about, you know, what is actually being said. It's about getting the guy who told us the truth. And so now I question everything, even those, and with the Twitter files that have been released about what Twitter was doing to people. And there's an article that I'm going to put out, or that I'm going to talk about on the podcast on Thursday, you know, of what Elon Musk had said. And so I think when people are asleep, they don't question what they're told. They're just told something and they believe it. And now I'm questioning everything. And it's not just questioning about external, it's questioning about my beliefs that I've taken on, that I've been told, and are those true for me? And they can be true for someone else, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to take on their truth. So yeah, it is that time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that is part of the shift that we're talking about, or that we're feeling, for sure. The shift of consciousness, as far as, you know, things that have been hidden from us over our lifetime. So, you know, you talk about the water. I saw you can look up Rife, RIFE, I believe, Rife machine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And this guy, he's the grandson of the original inventor of the Rife. I think I don't know, it's a therapeutic machine, but it uses frequencies. And they took it's a glass container of water, and they set it on these copper wires, and they send different frequencies through the wire, and the water takes on different forms based on the frequency. And it was interesting because there were some frequencies that were low frequencies, like negative frequencies, and the water was very choppy and just not nice looking, I guess is the best way to put it. And then they put in the higher frequencies, the frequencies that we need to be working towards. And it's just some beautiful Yeah, you put it up there.
Yep.
It changes the structure of the water. So, I know we've got several people on here, and there's going to be people that watch the recording. I mean, we didn't plan on getting on here and talking about rife machines and water and frequencies and all that stuff. So we'll get to the other stuff here in a minute. But it is interesting that all three of us have had similar experiences over the past few years, and I think something's coming for sure, in a positive way. I'm very positive about the future. Very.
Yep. Yep.
Now we may have some challenges to get through to get there, but I'm very positive about the future. I had a tremendous during my quiet time this morning in meditation. I had a tremendous vision that I hadn't been given before, and I really, it was really exciting. So I believe that we've got some very great times coming, but we also need to be prepared to help those along that aren't at the level, not only the level financially that we are, but also the level of, uh, you know, awakeness, I guess, for lack of a better term, that we are. So, and I think that goes to the positivity of being that person for other people. So, anyway, like I said, I've got a few people on here that that I know fairly well that are very positive people. I surround myself with positive people, and that's why I do not do drama. I do not do negativity. Everybody knows somebody that goes from one crisis to another, don't we? These people have a crisis, they finally get through it, it's hell, and then it seems like a week or two later they're going through another crisis. That's an energy that they're drawing to them. And I
I
don't.
call them energy vampires, Paul.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
That's right, bud. So anyway, I think it's important that we all, we're the master of our own lives, the master of our own universe. It's like Jay talks about, hey, don't invest in something just because I tell you to. I mean, he's telling us what he does. We will share some ideas that we do, but don't you dare invest in anything just simply because we say we're doing it. You guys got to figure out your own life, your own situation, your own financial situation, your own goals, and figure what you can do. Take some things that you learned from Jay, and hopefully from Bud and from George, and maybe me every now and then, that will incorporate into your financial future. But it's not just financial. If you're sick and you're a billionaire, it makes no difference. If your frequencies, if you're sick and you're negative, and first of all, if you're negative and sick, you're probably not going to get to, several $1 million. But that said, money means nothing without health. So, and George talked a little bit about, his journey and trying to do some things differently to get healthier. And so, Bud, how about you? I know you work out. You've got a gym, and you do things to improve yourself. I think we all do things to improve ourselves, but can you touch on that at all, Bud?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the things that we did, when we took this hiatus and stepped back from crypto a little bit, I was still learning a lot from Jay, and one of the things he talks about is food security. And so I'm sitting here now with several food storage, lock storage centers that I have food security. I can go and get those, get food anytime. It's just on the news today, in fact, that we're hitting food inflation at the highest levels in 45 years. And they were talking about the price of olive oil. Well, I've got olive oil coming out my ears. I've got so much of it. So, but I wouldn't have done this without, having a coach that said, hey, look, you want to be thinking about food security. So that's one aspect. One is health. And so I've been spending a lot of time with health, and I've set up a gym. And here's again, for anyone listening who doesn't believe that the universe gives you what you want. I was putting out to the universe, I need a running machine. I've got a rowing machine, I've got a spin bike, I've got weights. I'm doing a lot of weights. In fact, I'm following a program. I was introduced to the guy who trained Hugh Jackman. And I thought, well, Hugh Jackman's got a nice body. I wouldn't mind his body. So I tried it. Nowhere near. But anyways, I was just asking the universe, I need a running machine. And someone that lives close to me is moving. He's preparing for the onslaught of a recession. He's clearing out things. He says, hey, do you want my running machine, a treadmill? And I said, yeah, great, great. So you just these things happen to me all the time because I'm putting out positive energy again. And the travel, you mentioned the travel, Paul. I've been doing a lot of travel. I've actually fallen in love again with some of our local countries, Scotland, England, Wales. Did some traveling through Europe, France, Spain, and then further afield, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia, Turkey. I was in Turkey actually, near where the earthquake was, but before that hit. But it reminds me of the beauty of this earth and the fantastic things. Now, I can see that you've got water related stuff on the screen. Paul, you did spark an idea which I've heard bubbling around, which is that we're moving from a past that was water based. So historical events that were kind of like water related, so the obvious one being the Titanic. And then we're moving into something that is the age of Aquarius and a bit more air-based. So we've had the invisible virus floating through the air, COVID-19. We've had now a push for contactless, and we've surpassed contactless and card payments versus cash. So again, that's going through the air. So there's all these air related. So I just thought I'd put it out to the group to see if there's anybody that may have anything to add to that idea, that we are now moving into an air-based thematic future.
Wow, now I never even thought about that, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't either, but you know what? I mean, right now we're using the airwaves. I know we're using the internet, but it's interesting that you say that, Bud. One thing that I've noticed, and I'm sure everyone else has too. I mean, I'm from the Midwest. We're in a smaller town. I live out in the country, so thank God if things got bad, I can go right out back and get my dinner. So, but the changes that have occurred over the past 3 years in society I don't think can be understated really, because we have businesses now that instead of jobs on site, many of them have transitioned to working out of their home. One of the things that we've Dustin, my business partner, and we have, for those of you that don't know, we have real estate, rental property, and pretty good portfolio of it. And we have seen an increase in people needing high-speed internet at home because they're working from the home. They're not going into an office, or if they are, they're going into an office for a day or day and a half or 2 days a week, and the rest of the time they are staying at home. And so, the dynamics of society, just think about that. That drops the amount of gasoline that they're selling. That drops the number of cars on the road. That all these things. And then we were in a McDonald's, believe it or not, and I don't go to McDonald's. I got a coffee. That's all I got. But we were in this McDonald's, and it was there was one person up front, and everything else was automated. And so I'm sure in the back there were somebody back there doing it. I couldn't see it, but it begs the question, where are these jobs going? I mean, these people are, normally you would have had 15, 20 people in this McDonald's, and there was probably 4. And it was busy, and people are making their orders on their own and going up, and it had a little deal that dropped the whatever you ordered, and then the person that was up there grabbed it and handed it to you, and you went on. I mean, it was So more and more our society is changing with technology, and you know, in this situation with the virus scaring people not to go anywhere, you know, how many businesses have shut down because of that, and how many businesses have transitioned into contactless businesses. One thing I'm very proud of is my daughter, who owns a very nice high-end coffee shop in this area. um, she transitioned with and never shut down. I mean, she offered curbside service. She offered, you know, we created boards to take food out to the curb for her, and the people didn't have to touch it. You know, it was carried out there. Obviously, the people making it touched it, but you know, you just you zig and you zag when you need to, and that's how successful people grow and increase during these difficult times. So I'm curious if other people have, or if you guys have noticed the same things in your areas.
Yeah, I will speak to that. That yes, very much so. Like things are just being automated, and there are fewer and fewer people. And I want to go back to, like, this is probably 15 years ago. Every morning I would go and I'd walk a mile, and I would go get my Starbucks, and I would then walk a mile home. But part of my being social was going to Starbucks and interacting with the people there, the same people, same time in the morning, like, hey, how you doing? Building those relationships.
Mhm.
And now it seems that the way things are going, everybody is working from home. I mean, I've worked from home since the year 2000. And so I haven't gone into an office. I don't know what it's like to go into an office anymore. I probably wouldn't fit in well there because I'm not PC. I'm not going
Mhm.
to do things correctly that I'm told to do because, well, that's a whole nother story. But that we're separating ourselves more and more, where it's not that you're paying a person, you're paying a machine. You're not asking for, oh, I'd like a cup of coffee. You're pushing a button, and that non-interaction with everybody, I think, really is going to, I don't, I'll say it kind of destroy the way we learn how to interact with people, because it's not just, hey, I'd like a coffee. It's, hey, I'd like a coffee. How are you doing this morning? How's your day going? It's so amazing outside. Do you have big plans this weekend? And yet we don't have that as much anymore, because there's not the human interaction that is out there. Like going to Costco now, most of the time I go into the self-serve aisle. And so it's not the getting to know the people that have been there for, 10 years and, hey, how you doing? Type of thing. And so it's really just kind of keeping everybody separate from each other. And that's one thing to go back to, of making your circle great, so that you
Mhm.
do have that human interaction, because COVID shut that down, and how it destroyed some people's lives. Like, we need interaction. We need human
That's right.
interaction. We need human touch. If you look at what some studies happened during World War II, and I don't want to get into it, where they did not touch babies, they did
Mhm.
not nurture them, they died. And during COVID craziness, the same thing happened. People committed suicide because they didn't have that interaction. And I'll tell you one story, because when COVID craziness first happened, and it hit hard in Australia, I felt sorry for anybody in Australia, what was going
Mhm.
on down there. I had someone in the group that, and I don't think they're here anymore. I actually don't know where they are anymore, but they would book time with me. And I think we spent about a quarter of the time talking about crypto stuff, and 3/4 of the time talking about life. And this person just wanted human interaction. They couldn't go outside. They couldn't communicate with people around them. And they just wanted that nourishment of another human being. And when that happened, I just, my heart went out to this person, because they're just really looking for that, and they were told, no, you can't have that. And I think it has changed the way the world is.
Yeah, I do. That is the downside to all of this, is the human interaction, and I'm guilty of it as well. I certainly, I keep my like I've said before, I keep my group small, the people that I'm close to small, and I do that as somewhat of a defense mechanism. I've done it for a long time, probably 10 years now, but we still need that interaction with other people. And so anyway, I think the onus is on us. I believe that the people in this group, most of them are going to be success-minded people. Obviously, we don't know everybody, and success-minded people tend to be more positive people. And so we need to be that light and that positivity for others to piggyback onto and to learn from. I can't tell you how many times I've had my daughter's friends who both of my daughters are entrepreneurs. We're a family of, there's 20 some of us here, all adults, probably 12, 13, and we all own our own businesses. So we are a family of entrepreneurs. And so we have that mindset, I guess, but we still need to be careful and to recognize that not everybody's like us, and people need that interaction from us occasionally and that positive word. I had a gal, I just told her how pretty her smile was, and she started crying. I was like, what do I do? What the heck do I do?
She thought you were going to tell a joke.
Oh my goodness. I was, so anyway, it's just that interaction of positivity that they don't get necessarily at home or in their life is so needed. And it's again, we're raising that vibration for them as well. Hey, George, we'll go over to the questions. We've got a few comments and questions. One of them, they're talking about crypto mining stocks. I don't know anything about that. So if you guys know anything about that, you might want to.
Bud and I think we talked about this yesterday when we had a little chit chat. I'm staying out of the stock market. I don't believe in it. And that's just me. I mean, I missed a big up from 2008 to where we are today. And if you listen to some folks, we're going to rock it up again. And I'm okay sitting on the sidelines from the stock market because I don't like what it represents. Yeah. And so I have to bow out. I would rather invest in a crypto because I know that, and not a company. I like the precious metals and I like my crypto. And Bud, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, it's also
they lost audio. I think that's probably on their end because I still hear you guys.
Yeah, yep, I think so.
Okay, go ahead, Bud. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I was looking at a few bank shares, banks in the stock market, and you know how Jade teaches us that if it's going down on less volume, it's bullish, and then you have this selling climax at the bottom. It's very tempting, but I've decided not to. And it's primarily because, in crypto, you get very used to holding your own stuff, your own assets, and then trusting that out to in custody of an institution. You might get the best crypto mining stock going, and it's running up, and then you get the announcement like Silicon Valley Bank, where that broker now has gone bust.
Yeah.
And you don't, what do you then do? So we are moving into a time where it does feel less risky to have things that you like. Paul, you're into like things you can physically see, and property and real estate, and I've done very well with gold that you can physically own. So that's just really my preference, is to have things that you can that need to be stolen from you.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. You two hit it on the head for me. I'm not going to invest in something that I can't touch. Crypto being, we still control it. Silver, gold, real estate, and I would be careful in real estate right now. By the way, I'm not suggesting real estate at this point, but I think there are markets that are great, but For somebody just to be getting into it and stuff, I would probably be very careful there. I think that we will have an opportunity to take some profits from our cryptos and own some real estate. So you might be looking around and seeing if that's what you want to get into. Go ahead and make a list of some properties that you're interested in, so that when the time comes, you never know, the owners of that real estate may be in the stock market, and they may need to sell, and unfortunately they're probably going to have to sell it at the bottom, and you guys that have some crypto winnings may be in a position to scoop it up at a discounted price. So I do not think that it will stay down. I think that it will come back, or it will pull back, and then it will, head back up. I don't know a timeline on that though. And the powers that be obviously control a lot of this. I did notice for those that are into metals, the COMEX is getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but they are getting destroyed.
What do you mean by destroyed, Paul?
Physical metals. People are taking.
The withdrawals.
Yep.
Right.
And they are. I forget what it was. I'll try to look that up while you guys talk. But it is staggering the amount of physical that's been removed.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I was talking to someone else last week, actually a client, and we were talking about silver. And I said, you do realize that if you go to Kitco, you can't buy a monster box. If you go to, there were a couple other sites where you try to buy a monster box of silver, it's just not there. And but I would love you to share the Vietnam story. And the reason why I think this is so important is that when I was a wee young lad and I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, and I took off a couple months, 3-4 months, and I traveled Europe, and I went into Eastern Europe before the wall fell. And I think I was in Hungary. Yeah, I was in Hungary, and other countries, whether it be Greece or some of more of the eastern side of Europe, if I had the dollar, they loved me. They would woo me. They wanted me to trade my dollar on the black market and give a really much higher rate than if I went to one of their, official banks. It was scary at times because it was like, is this person gonna, hit me over the head type of thing?
Yeah.
And this was in the middle of parks. Like, it was crazy over there, what the black market was. And what you shared with me the other day about what's going on in Vietnam, it just kind of floored me. So, Bud, if you'd love to share, I'd love to hear that.
But just before you do that, let me just read this real quick on the silver market, and then I would love to hear what you got to say on that too. But just so that we don't lose it, the COMEX silver vault totals drop to under 273.2 million ounces. That's the lowest level since June of 2018. Registered was down 4,870 ounces. Open interest rises to the highest level since April 22, and now equals about 289% of all vaulted silver and 2,317% of registered silver. So something's going on there. And I just think it's something that if you're into metals, you need to be aware. And if you're into owning paper silver, do some research. Do some research on that. I'm telling you, don't.
Yeah, and just to let you know, everybody, this is not trading advice. We are not traders.
No.
We are not advising anything. We're just letting you know what is going on in our little brains or big brains, and thought we'd share that with you.
Yeah, please don't follow us doing anything. But like I said earlier, you're the masters of your own universe. So you want to do something, you do it. But we're just throwing out some information here. But I want to hear this story. I can't wait.
Yeah, I will get to Vietnam. It just made me think that we could be geniuses sitting on all this gold and silver, watching it rise up, and then, you're broken into and held at gunpoint, and then the following day,
Yeah, I don't have it.
Oh, I'm glad I got crypto.
Get it from me.
They could get my gold, but they couldn't get my Bitcoin. So
exactly. Well, that's why I'm not going to let anybody know that I live in Austin.
Well, that comes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that comes back to privacy as well, you know. So,
I
um,
knew you were
Well,
my neighbor.
mm-hmm.
yeah. So you asked me to speak to Vietnam. I've been there several times. I love the country, and you know, it's very easy. Can you believe this? You can travel around on like a brand new jet airline, and it can sometimes be in the ballpark of $30, $40, you know, to travel across country. So you know, you don't even need a private jet for um, or even to be on the binge team to live like a millionaire over in Vietnam. Now, when I first went over there, man, I was giving dollars out like candy, and it was amazing to me that, you know, with the history of Vietnam, how much they loved the dollar, you know, and how much they loved the Americans. And so every time I was going back, I was, oh, just take you know, a fistful of dollars, and that'll get me by. Now, this last time that I went over there, I went on a motorbike trip around Vietnam, and you know, for anyone listening, you can pick up some motorbikes in a place called Hoi An, or and then, you know, like that's halfway down, so it's not as far to go. Or you can do the whole trip from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City, and then around the coast on the way down. It's just wonderful. But do you know, I could not get rid of my dollars. I This time around, and this was last year, no one was accepting dollars, whereas before they wanted dollars. And so I felt like something really had changed. You know, they wanted cards, Visa cards, local currency, going to an ATM, pulling out the local currency, but no one. I would have to go to a gold broker to get, you know, my dollars changed under the counter. So
Yeah.
and you know, so this is happening around the world. You know, people are giving up the dollar and
Mm.
so switching over, and the supremacy of the dollar is not just an internet meme. It really is something that is physically happening out there.
Well, the next
Yeah.
thing will be CBDCs, obviously. That's coming. I hope that we can thwart that somehow. I don't like the fact that our central bank digital currency, they can turn it on and off anytime they want. If you don't say the right thing, they can take away your purchasing power, you know, things like that. I don't like that central control that they have or would have, but I believe that that is coming as far as their plans. Um,
Did they just change the name? Just call it
yeah.
Bitcoin digital currency, but it really is central bank digital currency.
Yeah. Well, the bad thing about that is though they can't control that as much. If they've got a central controlling authority over the central bank digital currency, then they can turn those little bad boys on and off anytime they want.
Yeah, I mean, the cat's out the bag now. I mean, how many people in the? I used to work in finance. I used to work for asset managers, and you know, I would never hear people talk about fiat currency or printing money, or you know, just all the things that we've learned now that they have the capability of doing as central banks. And in fact, I do remember the riots in the 90s with the derivatives exchanges. I actually remember I used to work for the Queen stockbroker, and I was in my suit, and all the May Day rioters were rioting and storming the London Stock Exchange, or the derivatives exchange, and you know, we were throwing like money from the top of the window. It was really awful behavior. But and here we are again, but there's more on the side of anti-establishment kind of protests, you know, against the central banks. And this time I see it very differently. You know, we do know they can print money. We do know that they have an unlimited ability to turn it on or off as they please. And I just think it would be so hard to compete against Bitcoin. So maybe that's why they have to keep it, you know, keep it dampened, and maybe try to prevent us from owning Bitcoin. But whether they can do that, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
we that's the digital, you know, black market. I mean, you know, when I saw what was going on in Eastern Europe, um, I knew that that's going to be coming here if they do CBDCs. I mean, I am sure that there are
I
going to be There are going to be markets. There's going to be people that are, believing like us, like, no way, no way, no how. I mean, here's the thing. How is the how is the CIA going to sell their illegal drugs in this country when there's no cash that
Without
can
the
be moved
dollar.
back and forth?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So, that is the one that is abused the
They'll use
most.
Bitcoin.
Um, yeah, exactly. But who's going to feel comfortable doing something that can be tracked? I mean, Bitcoin is not necessarily anonymous. It is very similar if you know a wallet address. But that's why I think CBDCs may be at the bank level. I think they're going to be rejected at
I do
this
too.
level. Some people may just go through and say, yes, I'll do whatever you want. In fact, I was talking to someone about gold confiscation, and they were talking about their grandma back in the early 1900s, and when there was the gold that needed to be turned in, this person's grandma turned in her jewelry, including her wedding band. Her wedding band turned in. I don't think we're that asleep anymore. I don't
No,
think
no.
the public is willing to give up their wedding band to a corrupt government that just sends money everywhere except for where it's needed here back at home. But just to let you know, like right now, you could buy a monster box. I guess they have them back. They didn't the other day. 22,650. That equates to $45 an ounce. Right now, supposedly, silver's at $25 an ounce. So the spread on that is it's almost double.
Yeah, I
Having
looked
that
at that.
premium.
I looked at that yesterday, George, and what blew me away is the sellback spread. I think the sellback spread on the goldsilver.com that I looked at was $31 buyback price and 45 sell price. That's a huge sellback spread.
Yeah,
I
I would buy it for 31 right now. Anybody want to sell theirs for
exactly
31? Please let me know and I will buy.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is yeah, I think the beginning of the run, they can do that. I don't know that they'll be able to do that. Well, maybe, who knows? I don't know. But that seems like a monstrous spread to be getting. But people are going to be buying and holding, so at least
Yeah.
for a while.
You have
So
to keep very private when you do all this stuff, don't you? I was talking with someone locally, and they were saying, "Oh, I'm thinking about getting a monster bot from one of the London precious metal brokers," and I didn't dare tell him that I'd bought the whole monster box. I pretty much wiped them out. I think it was a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago now. I'd bought every monster box they had.
Nice,
And
nice.
well, yeah, you say nice, but I mean, it's just stuck here and it's kind of hard to store. Um, and
Yeah.
what do you do? What do you do with your precious metal? Do you occasionally go in and have a look at it? And because I mean, it just seems to just sit in the vault, and I don't ever really look at it. But I really should probably spread it out on the table a bit more and kind of spread it around the house. And
yeah, I have somebody check on it for me and that I trust, and I make sure they know it's there.
what about, we do go away a lot. Do you guys have any suggestions on security then? Is it better to put it in a vault when you're traveling? I'm guessing it is,
Yeah,
unless
I
you
would
want.
say so. I would say
Yeah.
so. I think it's better to put it in a vault for the most
Yeah.
part, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, in my life, it's actually not here where I live.
Right.
It's somewhere else there that is not me, is not really known. Because, I want to be a gray man. I want to be I don't want to have that much surrounding me. And that's why I feel comfortable. I know some people use Brinks, and I think having a well-known name like Brinks, if Brinks decided to steal your gold, silver, I mean, it would put them under because there would be
Hmm.
no
Yeah.
trust. So
But it's not that, George. It's more the government coming in and shutting them down. I mean, I guess, there is a history of, bigger authorities coming in and taking, forcibly taking the
Yeah,
precious
that's
metals.
true. That's true. However, I will say that I think in this age of the internet and the ability to conversate with people anywhere in the world, any minute of the day, I think is prohibitive to an action like that by a government. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but the amount of pushback that they would immediately get if they went to a Miles Franklin or one of these other Brinks and shut them down and took all the gold out of there, I don't know that would work anymore. First of all, back in the day, in the early 1900s, the way they made it work is you were patriotic. You were patriotic. Yeah. You had to turn in your well, that ship sailed. That's a bunch of bullshit now. So sorry, excuse my French, but that, not that we're not patriotic and don't love our country, our nation, but back then they trusted politicians. They trusted authorities. That trust, look at what the approval rating of Congress is right now. The approval rating of the president. So people, and the approval rating of the media, for crying out loud. I mean, yeah. Back in the day, the New York Times had an approval rating, I think, of in the high 70s, maybe. And now I don't even know. The last one I saw was down under 20. So, and I would hope it would be worse than that now. We've got a couple of comments in the questions deal. I found this one interesting. Mike Eckley shared that he went skiing, helicopter skiing, I guess that's what that means, in the Bugaboos last week and met Santiago Raul Santos. He is a former JP Morgan analyst turned crypto since 2012, has a podcast on YouTube called Empire. I think I've seen it. Anyway, he was seed capital in ETH, Aave, Alluvium, and Synthetics, Flow, Optimism, oh wow, Maker, DAO, to name a few. Anyway, nice to hear what these young men are investing in, fresh look into crypto after all these years. Yeah, that's interesting, Mike. Thanks for sharing that. It is interesting when, the powers that be will come out on the television on CNN and ABC and tell you that you shouldn't do something while their other hand is behind the curtain doing the exact same thing. So
yeah, I was thinking, Paul, that we can't underestimate how clever the powers that be are. One of the things that gave me an insight into even over 100 years ago, that what they did to get the central bank in the first place is they run a concerted campaign to say that the banks did not want this. And of course, people weren't trusting the banks back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so they made the mistake of thinking it was a good thing. And, I guess time will tell whether it has been good or not. But I just thought it was very interesting that they kind of, I guess with the data now, they sense the mood of the nation, and then they can manipulate that mood to their end benefit. So you never quite know what the ultimate goal is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at us. We're here. We're supposed to be in crypto, and it's supposed to be, it was sold originally as freedom-loving, fight against the banks, and whether that is true, that wasn't really the case. The banks are heavily invested in lots of things that we're invested in with the alts, and maybe we were kind of misled a little bit to think that it was, taking a stand against the banks and the powers that be.
I know you have to question everything on what's the motivation, what feels good to you. I know I saw something. Oh wow, we have a Black Hawk helicopter going right in front of my window.
They're coming for you, George.
Oh my gosh, George!
If I go off the air, then wow, I haven't seen one of those in a while.
We're gonna hear noise, and Bud and I are gonna go, George.
It's the two of us. Hey, Paul, you're doing the tech from now on.
Oh, we're in trouble, man. We are in trouble. We got a question from HT. He said, do you think we will see a pullback in gold and silver from this price before we see a bigger move? HT, I don't know. Nothing goes straight up, obviously. There's going to be growth and then pullbacks and stuff like that. I wouldn't even pretend. The gold and silver is a little bit of a strange animal, because it's very controlled. Like I said, the silver market is so controlled. But with this happening to the COMEX, I think at some point they may lose control. Who knows? You know, their ability to withstand, you know, a lot of this stuff over the years has been legendary. So who knows? But I would not. I'm of the opinion, for me, I don't know about you guys, but I'm of the opinion for the most part that I just stack it. I just, you know, I just stack it. It's so low, even at the prices today. Now, maybe I wouldn't buy Silver Eagles just because of the premium at this point, but you know, $26 silver spot price is still, that's half of its all-time high. So, you know,
Yeah.
do what you think, do what you think is right. But for me, I just think uh, I don't try to time anything perfectly. Jay is a better person to ask that.
Yeah. And here is something that I think is important that Igor is sharing with us. I know Igor's background, and so he is a very wise soul. It says, sorry guys, but if governments decide to confiscate our silver, they will force every broker to report their sale history. Martin Armstrong shared how he was forced to report on all his clients but refused. How many strong people like Martin are around? And I would say probably not that many, which brings
I've
to the
got an answer
case.
to that, George.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know what you're going to say. Go ahead, you say it.
oh no, well, I was going to say that I actually go and purchase it, and it's not in my name or address.
Yep.
So whatever's registered, they're going to be banging down the wrong door.
Right.
Yep. And you can also say that you had sold it. I mean, you got to think differently. And, one of the benefits that I have is the place that I would go in and pay cash for my silver, it burned down in a in a big fire. So those records are gone. But when I bought it, because I bought it with cash, they always said, "What's your name?" And I looked at him, and he'd be like, "Okay, yeah, John Doe." And so I never gave the correct information. And
George,
I
George, your
welcome that to
jacket
everybody.
doesn't smell like smoke, does it?
What? Me?
Yeah.
No, you know what? It took out a whole town, so it, it wasn't just me.
Yeah,
Back in
right.
my
Right.
You're
haunts.
learning more from the powers that be than we should think. That's their strategy, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's funny because we have Igor talking about Martin Armstrong, and then we have Jelly Van der Waal. Martin Armstrong economics is a good source. I agree with that. Martin Armstrong has been around for a while. I have listened to Martin Armstrong for a long time. And I don't necessarily like what he has to say, but it's not him that is saying it. It's Socrates that says it. And he even says that. Like, and who is there's an the trends, Nader, Nader, he's a trends guy. I don't like what he has to say, but I respect what he has to say because it's just a trend. And so, we have to, be aware of that, and know, where are the trends?
Jerry's right too. He just put diversity is key. There's no doubt. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, you just can't do it. You need to be very aware of different, uh, different investments, so certainly just diversify. You don't want everything in gold. You don't want everything in silver. You don't want everything in crypto. You don't want everything in real estate and so on. So, do I think that there's money to be made in the stock market? Yeah, but it's going to happen without me. I'm just not. I'm not built that way. I did do a lot of stock market investing in the past, and you know, had ups and downs just like everybody, but I got a bad taste in my mouth the last time I did it, probably 12, 13 years ago, and I just decided it wasn't for me. So,
Yep.
but yeah, diversify. Absolutely, guys, diversify. Thanks for all your kind comments, guys. I know several of you have said how great it is to hear us again, and it is fun to do these. We really do enjoy talking to each other, and that's kind of how this started. We would have calls talking to each other, and we're like, we ought to do a podcast. So it's just kind of us talking. So if you like it, that's great. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And we are at the top of the hour, so I know we could go on forever. But I know this is also valuable time that people have, that, you know, they need to go to work, they need to spend time with their family, they need to do other things than hear us ramble. But I'm sure, because this has been fun, we're going to do another rambling, and we'll figure out a date that we can do that rambling, and we'll post it, and make sure that we meet again, because it is fun. It's also really nice to hear from you guys, and as we warm up again, I think it's like, okay, you know, I want to talk about this. We're not necessarily going to talk about, there is, you know, one question from BR. It says, you know, great having you guys back. Do you have your favorite altcoin investing in? We're going to stay away from that a little bit, because Jay is kind of the crypto guy. And what my altcoin would be different than someone else's. And you know, and part of that is I don't want to step on any toes, because I'm just a tech guy, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
So
we almost need to change the wording on altcoins, don't we? Because we have like the top 6 or so, and then we have others. But
and then a bunch of shit coins.
Basket. Yeah.
I will tell you this, that in the past, Jay has said, and this goes to me being the master of my own destiny, basically, as far as my investing and stuff like that. But in the past, Jay's, you know, mentioned an altcoin, or you have, George, and I've looked into it and I've decided, I don't like that project. Well, I've missed out on some profits because of that. But when I look at an opportunity to invest, number one, I look at the charts, the volume, things that Jay has taught us, but also, I guess it's good and bad, but I check into the project, and if I don't understand it, if I don't see a utility for it, if I don't see, you know, a reason that my mind can wrap around the project, then typically I don't invest in it, just because that's just me. So I have my little things that I look for when I invest in something, and if it doesn't fit within my, you know, 8 inches between my ears, then I'll pass.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. And I'm going to add one more thing, Paul, and you're going to laugh when I say this, and it's ease of use. And a perfect ease of use is Wax. Wax is impossible to get in and out. EOS, the same thing.
Yeah.
You know my Wax story, so
I know, and that's why I thought I'd say it.
POS, son of a gun, man. Anyway,
I still have a folder with your Wax information in there. I'm like, if something just comes to me and I can figure it out, then we'll do it. But just hasn't.
that is a perfect example, George. And actually, I had put that to bed and had completely buried it and had forgotten all about it, George. So thanks for that.
Sticking a finger in that wound.
Right.
Oh dear. Send another Black Hawk, Paul.
Yeah.
George, do you still have your Wax in? Because I was only, you know, I sometimes often go back in, and you know, some of these coins can just sit on the blockchain and you don't really pay attention for years, and you know, so I went in playing with it, and I thought I'm going to unstake my Wax. You know, Wax is actually one of my success stories. I did it perfectly. Jay would have been very proud of the way I managed the Wax. But the blocks, is it blocks.io? That is so glitchy. Like that really, you know, several times errored out when I was trying to unstake, and there's nothing worse than having an error when you're trying to like do something with the coins. But luckily after a while, and do you know what the fix was? The fix, which I found online from a lovely, it was actually a video in Hindi, and I had to kind of try and interpret it, but it was delete the 0 and put the 0 back in.
No.
I mean, what? And then that's kind of now put a bad taste in my mouth for
That's
should I
when you
stay?
want to reach out and grab the guy, the programmer, and just choke him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and
So,
when you ever get EOS off, you could never do it with the amount of CPU, so you always had to go out and rent CPU. But who's going to tell you that until you really look it up? And when you have like the ease of use, when we who have been in crypto for years, close to I've been in a decade.
yeah,
Um,
same here.
when you go in, and even when I have problems doing something on a chain, that's when I say, no way, no how. If I can't figure it out with my background, now I'm not saying I'm fantastic. I have to do a lot of research to find some of this stuff. But if I have problems, then how is a regular person that is not really dedicated to a blockchain going to solve that problem? They're going to be frustrated and they're going to talk negative about it and be like, yeah, done. And so if it doesn't have a good ease of use, I am not interested whatsoever, because no one else is going to be interested. It's only going to be those people that are dedicated to it, that know it like the back of their hands, that are going to want to use it. So
Yeah,
that is a key.
you you hit the nail on the head, because if I hear you say, yeah, this looks like an interesting project, but it's really difficult to navigate, I'm done. I'm out right there. I'm out right there. If George says it's difficult, I'm screwed. So I'm not even going to touch it. I'm not even going to touch it. So one quick,
Uh,
one more from Joe Van der Wall. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Anyway, opinion of Satoshi Nakamoto is created by CIA. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't know that I trust the official narrative of Satoshi, but who freaking knows? At this point, I don't believe anything they've told us. So you could be hitting the nail on the head, but I just don't know. You guys have an opinion on that, or same?
Yeah, I
yeah,
do. I have a client who is has a Japanese mother, and we were talking the other day, and she kind of just blurted out, you know what Satoshi? Oh, because we were talking about the white paper that you can find on every Mac, and that people were saying Steve Jobs was Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm like, yeah, that's not in my wheelhouse at all, and I don't think that whatsoever. But she said her mom, who spoke fluent Japanese, said, well, you know what Satoshi Nakamoto is? And it's not just a straight translation, it's character, and what the meanings are, and it's centralized intelligence. So whether or not that means the CIA is Central Intelligence Agency, or does it mean central intelligence, like, intelligence not as in to get us and other people, but just an intelligence that is, in this coin. So interesting topic. I'll let you put your 2 cents in, bud.
yeah. I was just going to say I've learned some things as well about Satoshi Nakamoto. I think it was his 48th birthday recently. I think I heard this. There's a really interesting YouTube channel that I have might listen to now and again. It's called what's it called? Waters Above Crypto, or Crypto Waters Above. Very, very interesting. Talks about the gematria of like the crypto. And Satoshi Nakamoto turned 48, and it was exactly the same day that we had 48% dominance. And there's some other connection with the high of 69,000 on that day, and Satoshi meaning Saturn. So
Interesting.
yeah, and then so Saturdays are good, obviously Satoshi. So there's definitely more to it than the official narrative. I mean, let's face it, any official narrative, it's just like that's obviously wrong. So, and then you've got a selection of 10 conspiracy things to go after. What I was just going to finish off with as well, it kind of sparked an idea when someone was asking about altcoins, because being here with Jay from the start, and you and I being in crypto for like a decade. I think for me it's about 8 years. What I've come to realize is instead of trying to pick the best altcoin, you have to sort of learn and buy into where we are going in the world, and where finance is going. And if you kind of buy into like things are becoming more digital, there is a transition in place, that there is a need for something like a Bitcoin being a digital gold, and then everything that circles around it, like I guess Saturn and all the planets around the moons. But like go and do some research into whether you buy into the paradigm shift that we are going through. And if you buy into that, really, what does it matter what crypto? Like, just get a top one, get a good one, and
Yeah.
then ride the wave,
Yep.
like we are doing with Jay.
Yep.
And stomach the get to learn about the ups and the downs, because it changes dramatically, as we've seen. It can kind of flick on and off like a switch.
Yep.
So
Yep. Okay, guys.
cool.
I think we can call it a day and
Yep.
kind of go from there.
Love it. Love it. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and hopefully not hopefully, this will be put up and the video can be listened to, or the audio can be listened to here pretty soon. But it was really nice to get back, and although we've had the opportunity to talk several times, like I said, it's nice to just get in here and have some interaction with you guys. Love the questions and the comments, and I know we didn't hit them all. There was one about a doctor I would love to expand on. We'll do that next time. Wasn't quite sure what they were talking about there, but I am interested. So anyway, looking forward to doing this again here fairly soon. Not sure when, but George will put that out there ASAP. But until next time, everybody, keep your positivity up, keep your vibration up, and be that positive light to others in your world. And let's go crypto.
Absolutely.
That's great. Bye, guys.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys. Take care.